Good morning. I'm Jay Clifton Payne, and this is Things You Might Have Heard coming to you from This is Conversation Project and this is conversationproject.com on Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022. What we'll present to you in the next 15-20 minutes will be 5 stories that you have vetted as conversational, you have vetted as good to talk about, you have vetted as something that we need to go deeper into, and we will go into the vetting process a bit deeper into the program. But we will have for you those things. Plus, we'll do some celebrity birthdays. Some folks you didn't know may have a birthday today, and some other things to celebrate, including some other kind of weirder things to know. Although today, to be honest, it's kind of a freebie, kind of a cheap one, something everybody kind of knows. But we are running late today, technical difficulties and all sort of weirdo stuff. So let's go ahead and get into this thing here. Now, remember, you can follow us at our website. This is a conversationproject.com to find out information about sponsorships, find out information about our partnerships, and find out information about the feeds, if you will. We'll explain those a bit later, but if you want to go ahead and keep that in your memory and have that later on to figure out how to find stuff, stop by our website. This is a conversationproject.com and get more details on the full details. But for starters, let's go ahead and get into the stories on the day. Running a little behind, so we're trying to get things going, keeping it pithy and all that. Multi-Vortex tornado rips through New Orleans lower ninth ward. Intensive damage reported. We're going to give it up. We're going to put on our classes today. Dailybeast.com is the source of this one, and this came in late last night, essentially as basically we were putting this to bed and going to bed and doing a last check of stories to put into the system. Around 9 o'clock in the night, we posted this one. So this happened somewhere between 7 and 8 or so, about an hour or so prior to when we posted it on there, and you guys responded big to it because it was big time breaking news. All the things going on weather-wise and all the things going on crazy-wise and all the things, oddly enough, going on promotional-wise. The Final Four for the men are playing in New Orleans in a few weeks. This is not good news. Tornadoes never good news, and we expected storms all day long here in the southern region because there was plenty of talk of storms in Texas, storms in Tennessee, and one all the way down in southern Louisiana happening through the Ninth Ward. Ninth Ward, you may have heard of the Ninth Ward from various rap videos or from watching things like The Wire or Treme, I should say specifically, shows like that portrayed the Ninth Ward as kind of a grimy, gritty sort of place to live, but it is a place where people do live, and that's where the thoughts and prayers go out today. Lots of damage through that area, lots of people dealing with. I don't think there are any deaths to be dealt with. I didn't go check on any of the. Too many of the actual updates on this one. As I said, we're running late today, but this is a tornado that happened late in the evening or last night. And of course, we'll know more about what's going on as sunrise comes up and things go on there. So if you are a person who has love for family in New Orleans and Louisiana, or just, a general heart itself, thoughts and prayers should go out to the folks living in New Orleans who are dealing with the tornado directly. And we'll see about the damage that it's done for the neighborhood and how they will be able to rebound, hopefully sooner rather than later. Let's move on to the story of the second this week, and this morning. It is Disneyland cast members reportedly told not to wear official Mickey Pride pins in support of Walkout. WDWNT.com. It's a website, a blog essentially that covers all things Disney World, Disneyland, all things Disney. And this is in protest to, oddly enough, the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida. Now, the employees at Disney World are kind of up in arms by the response by Disney people, Disney World executives, and of course Disney for how they're dealing with the response to the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida. And the bill, the quick version of it, is a bill that says not just don't say the word gay, because that would be really silly. It's to not bring up anything in the conversations that might lead someone to down a path of homosexuality. That's literally what it is. It's basically if a person in school comes out to a counselor and says, I'm having these issues, they're not allowed to talk about it. They're not allowed to bring it up. They're not allowed to bring up figures in history who happen to be homosexual. It's a really weird. But because it sort of protects the young kids and keeps them out of indoctrination, that's the way the bill goes. You can't say anything about homosexuality because you might actually turn someone homosexual, because that's apparently how they think it works. In the meantime, Disneyland and has been all sorts of weirded because of a lot of walkouts, a lot of people complaining, a lot of things going on, and the cast members there are not allowed to wear the gay pride, Mickey gay pride pins, which are made to celebrate pride in the homosexual community, as their official sort of support for the walkout. They're supposed to kind of leave it neutral. So Woody's not walking around with it with the Mickey pin, and Cinderella doesn't have one in her bonnet. It's not going to happen. Sort of support. The cast members are supposed to still be neutral if they're showing up for work. If they're not showing up for work, you can protest all you want, I guess, for your protest's sake. Let's move to the third story this morning. It is this one. Stormy Daniels says she'd rather go to jail than pay Donald Trump after losing appeal. This from HuffPost.com. And this one took a while to get in here because they had a lot of stories that were kind of more important to talk about in the span of the capture for these things. Like we said, this thing captures about 30 hours, so it catches a bunch of old stuff and new stuff and how things kind of float around in the news story. It also takes a while for some news stories to really catch on as well, because a lot of the a lot of your bumper stories that are just the silly stories take a while to get together moss and gain traction. This one happened a little while ago. This interview was about a week ago, and it took a little while for us to kind of mention it, and it took a while for you guys kind of put it into the range to talk about. Stormy Daniels, of course, the adult film, not really adult film star, just adult. More basically, she's basically a stripper for all practical purposes. She doesn't really do adult film. She just is a stripper for all practical purposes. Lost an appeal to Donald Trump on one of her many lawsuits against Donald Trump, going back and forth. And so that means she lost. She has to pay Donald Trump's fees and stuff like that. What she's saying right now is she's not going to do it. She's not taking that slack. She's going to rather just go to jail and take that fine as opposed to pay any actual money to Donald Trump. This is something because Trump sues everybody. Everybody basically caves because they have more money. At least we think they have more money than Donald Trump. Donald Trump has some money, but probably not as much as he thinks, or we think. Stormy Daniels is going to apparently fight that. We'll see. This may more be just bluster going on with what's going on, because they bluster a lot. But Stormy Daniels is claiming that she will go to prison, go behind bars, as opposed to lay out bars for Donald Trump after losing the latest appeal against him. The conservatorship thing is apparently a thing, and everybody's all into it, and everybody's trying to get out of it right now. A judge has ended Amanda Bynes' conservatorship as of right now. BuzzFeedNews.com is our source for this one, and this is a pretty simple story. Amanda Bynes has been in a conservatorship for about 5-6 years, much similar to one that we've been talking about with Britney Spears has been in for quite some time. And we're finding out a lot of famous people have these conservatorships going on to take care of their affairs because people deem them not quite able to take care of themselves, period. What does this mean? Well, I'm not sure. Amanda Bynes had the same sort of issues that Britney Spears had, and Britney Spears had a lot of issues, but this puts Amanda Bynes back in control of her life and her business and her finances, plain and simple. The judge has deemed that she is able to take care of herself, and with that, we'll find out in a few days or so how well she's able to take care of herself and whether this is a good or bad thing. Now, conservatorships are meant for not to be crude, extremely old people and people who are really out of their minds, people who really need to be taken care of, but have assets that need to be controlled and assets need to be protected from unscrupulous people, even though people who tend to run the conservatorships tend to be the ones that are lacking the scruples in those cases. Whether or not we'll see great things from Amanda Bynes going forward, we're not sure. Britney Spears is apparently going back into the studio and doing her own thing for her own self. No one's forced her to do any music, so they pushed her into the residency and some other stuff and whatnot, some TV shows and things like that. Britney Spears is going off and going all full scale, plus wants to marry her boyfriend and have babies, more babies. Amanda Bynes has just been in this little weirdness, funkness thing for a while. We'll see what happens as that gets itself sorted out. Today, we are sponsored by Blinkist. Stop by to the website, thisisconversationproject.com/Blinkist for a link to get 7 days free of the full app. And what you will find with the 7 full free days of the full app, a lot of F's in that one, is a lot of knowledge and a lot of great knowledge for you. Blinkist takes the best books out there in history and in nonfiction and breaks down all of the 300, 400, 1,000 words into blinks, into the raw substance, the most important points of it. It's a synopsis type service. So there you go. But what it allows you to do is to take in those blinks, take in the main points of the books in about 15 minutes. And you can take them in as reading them, such as the old Cliff Notes version, or you can take them in by listening to them as audiobooks. And they're not boring and dull and just lifeless readouts. These are very well written summaries and synopsis of the pieces you see out there in the books. I read 2 books a day because I read one on the way, audiobook wise, of course, on the way to work, and I read one on the way to sleep. They also have shortcasts, which are ways to break down podcasts that are normally long, like an hour or 30 minutes, into the essence as well. Those put down to about 15 minutes there. They have these really cool things where they have these sleep things where you can listen to like an autobiography and they talk to you in a very slow and a very calming voice. And you can listen to the autobiography and it puts you to sleep. So you can have your wake up and your sleep in the same app. Check it out at thisistheconversationproject.com/Blinkist. That is an affiliate link that gives us a little piece of the action. But remember, you're getting 7 days free trial of the full app with all of the accoutrements. So you're going to love it. Trust me on that. You're going to love what you get out of the Blinkist app. And the last story we have for the day, last story that you vetted, I will say, 26-year-old wrestler considers in retirement after ex-WWE star makes insane money on OnlyFans debut. EssentiallySports.com is there, and that's a really big tongue twister, but it is what happened. So this is kind of the weirdest that happened. We're going to step back a couple steps. A former wrestling commentator, a woman married to a wrestler, her name is Renee Paquette. She does a podcast, and she does with a bunch of wrestlers who are no longer in the WWE. She was in WWE as as a commentator with her husband. Sometime they both are out of there, but they do she does a podcast. It's independent of everything. She talks to all folks, all comers, and because of that, she was interviewed recently, a few days ago, about this thing that happened here. The wrestler in question is a woman that goes by the name of Toni Storm. She's from Australia, and she was in the States tearing it up with the WWE. She was a hot star on their development brand called NXT. She called up to the main roster, and they just didn't treat her well, as in they just didn't play her character right. Things didn't work out. She never had anything that really took off in the realm, and she asked for her release. WWE has been famous for releasing a lot of people that seem like dead weight. She actually left after a show and then asked for a release to go kind of work on stuff. As the headline says, in about an hour's worth of time, maybe 10 hours worth of time, being on OnlyFans and not doing the typical OnlyFans stuff, just being there for fans, she earned about $10,000 in a few hours worth of time of whatever it is she did there. I don't really know. They asked Renee Paquette if she was going to do it, and she said, "I don't think OnlyFans material," which is why we're bringing her up. But a wrestler doing wrestling things, she probably just put up some poses and did some talking and asked people asked some questions. And from that, the fans at OnlyFans chipped in $10,000. She's considering retiring from wrestling and just being an OnlyFans person. I'm not sure how interesting she is or how interesting she will be. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But we know what happened in that one. OnlyFans is finding ways for many people to make a lot of money in this year economy. But remember, the people who you're seeing making lots of money, those are still the outliers. There's still many people out there who aren't making back whatever it costs to pay their monthly membership fee, because everybody can't be an OnlyFans star. Everybody cannot be an OnlyFans star. Let's go to our teaser story today. This is one that we may end up talking about if you choose to. We'll talk about how that works right now. Posting in about an hour, Nicolas Cage admits he took all those straight to VOD roles to pay his debts, but I never phoned it in. This is a story we pulled off of Decider, which is bringing a lot of weirdish type of Hollywood news. But this is the key to this story right here. Nick Cage, who has a new movie coming out, an actual movie coming out, starring the star of the Mandarin, starring a whole bunch of kind of semi-famous. Ike Barinholtz is in it. Tiffany Haddish is in it. Neil Patrick Harris is in it. And it's Nicolas Cage literally playing Nicolas Cage who plays a spy who is Nicolas Cage. It's really weird. I saw the trailer for it this past weekend. I dug deeper into the story. I looked into some details. It looks like it's going to be a hoot, and it's a story where Nicolas Cage, doing all the weird Nicolas Cage faces and stuff that he does for all his movies, especially the late ones that are really, really, really bad, is a big movie. He has this expose where he talks about how he's been doing and why he's been doing, and he's honest. He needed the money, so that's why you see him all over the Netflix and all over the Hulu's doing all the really, 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 one more time, really bad things. Really bad movies, I should say. The things aren't so bad. The movies are horrible, terrible. But that's going on in the life of Nicolas Cage, and we shall soon see those things come about, not quite come apart, in the theaters coming soon. Now, the feed thing. Things You Might Have Heard is a part of More Better Media and is produced at thisisaconversationproject.com. That home tells you all the things you know about the Conversation Project itself, the feeds, how you can find out, how you can find our sponsors, how you can find our partnerships, and other details on how this whole thing works. The point of this Conversation Project is to find people to talk to about stuff and talk to about deeper stuff, not just breaking news headline stuff that's always online. So there is some Russia involved here going on, but like we say, we just talked about Nicolas Cage talking about Nicolas Cage. We want to talk about that stuff. You guys say that stuff is conversational, or you might say that coming forward. Those are things we will chat about here as well. Also, the feeds we talk about are Facebook and Twitter. Go to facebook.com/thisistheconversation project and th_conversation for Twitter. If you follow us on Facebook and Twitter, you can see the news stories we're posting every 50 minutes or so. As they come down the feed, like them, love them, hate them, share them. The more engagement they get, the higher score they get to be talked about. Tuesday through Friday, we go through the top 15 stories of the day, cutting off at 5 in the morning Central Time, and we give you 5 of those stories. On Monday, we go through Friday through Monday morning, and we will give you 7 of the top 30 stories there that you have vetted as most conversational. We also give you a couple things you might not have heard in the way of just randomish stuff that's, it's morning show type stuff. So celebrity birthdays. Yay. Starting off with Shaka Khan turning 69. Richard Grieco, who hasn't done anything really all that great since 21 Jump Street and Booker. You may disagree. If you do, let me know, because I can't think of anything. 57 years old today. And Randall Park, who is essentially the face of the Marvel Universe, even though he's just a minor character popping up as a face in the Marvel Universe. Randall Park, of course, fresh off the boat and things like that. And Young Rock, not tearing out the park, doing that thing, and, seeing the future as The Rock running for president, and somehow Randall Park is the guy interview. I don't know. Don't care. Very funny. 48 years old today. Those are your March 23rd birthdays. And by the way, National Chip and Dip Day. I know what I'm having for lunch. What are you having? One more thing you might not have heard for the day. In ancient Olympics, athletes performed naked. So yeah, you actually probably did know that. That's something that's pretty much a given. However, we were running late. We had technical difficulties, had to pull something quick. Lost the slides 3 times in the process. So yeah, that's your thing you might not have known, which pretty much everybody knows. Yeah. I know. I get it. But what you do know is, we all know that today, at least while I'm talking right now, it's Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022. This has been Things You Might Have Heard. Popping in live today is my beautiful wife, Christina with a K, and my boy, Josh Romans. Thank you so much for popping in and just giving the love and just getting your news this morning. And hopefully what I gave you was good. You guys know how it works. Let the people know how it works. Just go to, as it says at the bottom, follow our feeds on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook, This is the Conversation Project, and Twitter, th_conversation. Make sure you are following this news stories, engaging what's out there, and telling the peeps what stories are worth chatting up when we get up in the mornings. And I'll give you something every weekday morning from Monday through Friday with a quick check. Well, pithy isn't working so well. Not so quick. It took 20 minutes to get here. But a check of the news and give you some things to talk about at the water cooler, at the hairdresser, at the soda shop, at the park, whatever you're doing out there. When Officer Josh is out there busting cops, you can remind folks that the ancient Greeks did perform naked in the early Olympics. I'm not sure how that'll come up. That'd probably be harassment, so don't really do that. But you could think about things like that. In the meantime, we are working, as you know, on stories coming forward to present to you on the next day, which happens to be Thursday. So we'll see you tomorrow morning. We hope. And if you want to get more of this, make sure you subscribe to the channel you're looking at. If you're on YouTube, like and share with other folks so we have more people in the conversation for more conversation than things you might not have heard.